Hi, I'm Richard Blumenthal, United States Senator from Connecticut, and I am deeply sorry I can't be with you in person, but so glad and honored to be part of this panel, an important topic, and a highly expert and experienced group to comment on it. I want to acknowledge in particular my friends, Brett Eagleson and Terry Strada, as well as Tim Brown, for their advocacy and work over many years on behalf of 9/11 survivors, victims, and their families. Their leadership is inspiring to me and so many others, and I've been proud to work with Brett, Terry, and others for years on their efforts to achieve justice and accountability for 9/11 victims and their families. Counterterrorism conversations often tend to focus on the critical work done by the professionals in DHS, the intelligence community, law enforcement, and in our armed forces to prevent attacks, to degrade terrorist groups, and to deter state sponsors of terrorism. Those activities are obviously critically important, in fact, indispensable. They're components of an effective counterterrorism strategy. Where those efforts fail, it is incumbent on us in the government to provide desperately needed support to terrorism victims and their family members and assure that their rights are vindicated. This support can take many forms. One aspect that I've been heavily involved in that I wanted to highlight today, which I think is often under-discussed and critically important to justice and accountability, is civil justice. Congress passed the Anti-Terrorism Act in the early 1990s to provide a civil remedy to victims of terrorism, to give them rights, not just against the terrorists themselves, but also against anybody who facilitates terrorist unlawful actions. The goal was to provide much needed compensation and justice to victims directly, as well as create a deterrent for anyone who might consider facilitating or aiding terrorist horrific actions. Over the years, as you know, courts have proven somewhat antagonistic to the Anti-Terrorism Act, frequently adopting narrow, constricted interpretations and constructions of the law that really inhibit vindicating those rights. But because of the importance of this issue and of this community, Congress has continued to respond, amending the law repeatedly, most prominently with the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, or JASTA, which I was really proud to help lead. It makes clear that we intend truly, consistently, for this to be a powerful tool for victims of terrorism and their rights. In the case of 9/11, the litigation against Saudi Arabia has been the vehicle through which the survivors and victims' families have been able to learn crucial details, critical facts about those attacks. President Biden began an unprecedented effort in 2021 to declassify information about the attacks. Just this summer, crucial new evidence about the role of Saudi officials was revealed publicly for the first time. And some of these disclosures are the result of pressure that we in Congress have brought to bear on the intelligence community and agencies involved in those kinds of activities. This transparency is crucially important for family members and for efforts to hold accountable anyone who was responsible for the attacks. As demonstrated by the 9/11 case, a civil remedy is simply a win-win for the terrorism victims, for the United States of America, for everybody involved in fighting terrorism. It can provide accountability for bad actors, compensation for victims, and deter misconduct and choke off financial and other support for terrorists and their sponsors. It will help prevent future attacks from occurring, which is perhaps the greatest way to honor the memories of all we have lost. I look forward to continuing to work with Brett, Terry, and all of you to ensure that these laudable goals are achieved. And thank you again for your commitment to these efforts, for your support for the victims of terrorism. And thank you to the Soufan Center for hosting this wonderful summit. Again, thanks to the panel, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully in person very soon.